Cup.
Centennial Cup Champions in 2024.
What's going on, folks? This is the OJHL All Access Podcast. I'm Alex Bashivansky, and thanks so much for tuning in to what is our final show of the season, but we are going out with a bang. In just a moment, I'll have a few guys from the newly crowned Buckland Cup champion Trenton Golden Hawks, who recently knocked off the Milton Menace in a thrilling 6-game series. I'll also have Ron Valentine and Alan Corkum, our regular contributors, as well, as we will preview the Centennial Cup and take an in-depth look at all the teams that the Hawks are going to be facing in their group. I'll also be joined by one of the gentlemen who will be calling the Centennial Cup games for hnlive.ca, who's broadcasting the entire tournament, Dave Dawson. And Dave regularly covers the Alberta Junior Hockey League, and he will help break down what the Hawks can expect from the host Calgary Canucks and the Grand Prairie Storm, who are in their group. But first, Golden Hawks are Buckland Cup champions after taking down the Menace in dramatic fashion, coming back from a 2-goal deficit with just over 2 minutes to go, and then winning the cup in overtime on a Teo Artichuk goal. And I am happy to be joined now by a few members of the Buckland Cup champion Trenton Golden Hawks. We've got Coach Derek Smith and forwards Corbin, Roach, and David Fournier. Guys, how good does that sound when you hear that Buckland Cup champions for the 2024-25 season?
Feels unreal.
Yeah, it feels good. We're still kind of surreal, and we're still kind of getting used to it, but it's great.
Let's get it out there. The boys and I on the podcast, we did all pick Milton in the final. So you proved this wrong. Let's have it. Anything you want to say, because the guys are hopping on after this. So anything you want to say to the prognosticators that got this completely wrong. So let's have it. Anything you want to say?
No, I think our work just showed it for us. We don't really got to do much talking now, right?
Nope, you do not. And egg on the face. But honestly, guys, congratulations. It was a fantastic, series. Before we get to the actual Milton series, I was going to say 2015-2016 was the last time that Trenton actually won the Buckland Cup. Of course, the organization won the Dudley the following season, but they didn't win the Buckland Cup that season. So it had been almost 10 years since Trenton had won. Is this something that, is this well known to the team? And is this something that fans would talk to you guys about the fact that it had been so long since the organization had won the Buckland?
Yeah, it was definitely brought up a couple times in the fans. So I think it just meant that much more knowing that this great organization, it's been so long. So we want to do it for us and the team, but also just for the fan base and the organization, because we knew it's been that long and we just wanted to bring the Buck back home.
That you did. So Derek, going into this series, you guys had been a machine in the playoffs, but so had Milton. Taking down the Flyers, taking down Collingwood. They had the top 4 of the 5 scorers in the playoff race. What did you do to get the Hawks prepared for the Buckland Cup final against Milton?
Obviously, we have a pre-scout for every team that kind of, go through the way teams play, go over their players, their tendencies, their strengths, their weaknesses. But I think just the road that we had to go through to get there set us up for the finals. Obviously, Pickering in the first round, I know it was over in 5, but it wasn't a true 1 versus 8 matchup. The guys can contest to this. Every game was hard. Rob Pearson did a fantastic job of coming up with a game plan that gave them the best chance to win every night. And it was a battle. And then obviously facing Stouffville in the second round, hardest working team in the league, best face-off details, very structured, some game changers, a good goalie, very physical. And then obviously with Hallie in round 3, it was the road that we had to do to get there, to set us up to figure out how we need to play. If you go through our regular season, were probably the most run and gun team you could see. A lot of chances off the rush, relied on our power play, and really outscored a lot of teams. And then once February came, we had to start to get into playoff mode. We kind of reinvented ourselves as a team, and we turned into a playoff team. And it might have taken us, the month of February and the first, couple weeks of playoffs, but we turned into a grinding defense, hard to play against team that set us up for success in the playoffs. And obviously coming against Milton, who had a fantastic year, an unbelievable second half. They had some of the best players in the league, a great goalie. Obviously, Dan did a really good job with them, getting them to where they are. But our guys were just really dialed into how we needed to play, and the journey to get there probably set us up the most.
You knew the big guns that you had to key in on. I mean, like I mentioned, I think 4 of the top 5. I think they had maybe 6 of the top 10 scorers in the playoff scoring race. They had been, from an offensive standpoint, just on fire going into that series. What did you guys do defensively, sort of to key in on to shut those guys down?
It all starts with goaltending. Obviously, with Ryan Sanborn, he's had a fantastic year since he got here. In my opinion, he's the best goalie in the league. He gives us a chance every single shift to keep us in the game. But yeah, when they have, their top 4 defensemen are all super mobile. They all jump in the rush. Grant McCauley's been a rock for them. Semenyak had a really good playoffs. And then with Dazati, Fabjan, McDougall, Johnson, those guys, they can change a game every puck touch. And it's just the attention to detail of when they're on the ice, knowing that the best way to make them uncomfortable is to make them defend. And we did a really good job of getting pucks behind their D and making sure that those guys played tough minutes. They're obviously going to get their chances. They're going to get their looks. But if we make every shift hard on them, then the chance for them to be successful definitely goes down.
David and Corbin, up until the final, Milton had only lost 1 game on home ice in what they call the Madhouse in Milton. And you guys walked in there and took all 3 games in Milton, and you guys were just road warriors. Talk about that sort of, the mentality of going into a hostile rink when you're on the road, and being able to pull off what no one else was able to pull off in the playoffs, taking them down on their home rink like that.
Yeah, even though we were a good team at home this year, like up until the finals and the playoffs, we've only lost 1 game, and it was back in the first round against Pickering. So we're confident going up to Milton, and I think we got the job done there, and our mentality was to win every shift and just keep going.
Yeah. Take us through the last 2 minutes of Game 6, 2 minutes and 15 seconds or something, right? You guys are down 2-0. I think a lot of people in the stands, obviously a lot of Trenton folks in the stands too, but obviously Milton fans expecting that they're already planning the bus trip out to Trenton for Game 7. Take us through those final couple minutes where you guys are down 2-0 and you make the comeback, and then you take it into OT. Before we get into OT, though, just take us through your mindset over those last couple minutes.
Yeah, well, one thing we preached about all playoffs and going into the third period down to just not getting too high or too low. We knew that no matter what the score was or the time on the clock, that we're going to play every shift hard and still give us a chance and get no quit. So once we got 1, I think the boys started to get uplifted a little bit, and then got another, and then we knew from there it was our game.
And then the OT winner, you guys were on a power play, obviously, and you took your time. You set things up nicely. You had a couple of good chances, but then take us through Corbin. I think was it originally given to you, the winning goal?
No, I think it was given to Coop, but I think it was Artichuk is the one that scored. Yeah,
Artichuk is the one that actually got it, though. Yeah. Tell us about the winning goal. Tell us about how it went in, and then the feeling of how elated you guys were when you guys could be called champions.
Well, as soon as we got the 5-on-3, we kind of knew we had a good chance, and like our power play has been pretty good all year, and we trust everyone that's on the power play. And we just went out there, made plays, and took us a couple of good looks, but Artichuk's been really good for us this year, and obviously he comes up with a big goal.
No, yeah, the feeling when I saw the puck cross the line was never felt anything like it before. It's just like all the hard work finally paid off, so just excitement.
Third straight final too, right? 2 years of disappointment against Collingwood, and then finally, you're able to pull through against Milton. Let's talk about Sanborn for a second because he was named the playoffs MVP, but just what an insanely good pickup for you guys down the stretch this season. And then insane playoff performance. He was named the playoffs MVP. Whoever wants to take this, just talk about Ryan Sanborn and what he's meant to the team.
I'll take it. We definitely could have got this far without him. He was the rock of our team. Like when the boys weren't playing so good, we counted on him, and he came up with huge saves. So no matter what, how the boys were playing, we knew that we still had a chance. And even in that when we were down 2-0, and he came up with a huge breakaway stop, and then we ended up coming back down the other way and scoring. So it wouldn't have been possible without him. Definitely a well-deserved MVP.
Well, now it's off to the big dance, the Centennial Cup, trying to make it 2 years in a row for the OJHL champions as the national titleist. First of all, when do you guys actually leave for Calgary?
We're heading out Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning, okay. How much do you know about the teams that you're going to be facing at this point in Group A?
I think it's a little different. Obviously, for the staff, we've watched a lot more video, keeping tabs in other leagues throughout the season. For the players, junior hockey is a small world. They know guys on every team. But we just got to focus on one game at a time. Obviously, with Northern Manitoba, the first game, we got to set ourselves up for success as much as possible in game one, and then we'll kind of move on day by day after that. But the difference now is, now we're facing 9 league champions. And it's going to be good hockey every single day. We're looking forward to the challenge, but we know that the job's not done. To be Buckland Cup champs is pretty special, but at the beginning of the year, we all had a goal to be national champs. We saw it's doable last year with the season Collingwood had, and we want to replicate that for ourselves, for our community, for the guys, everything they've laid on the line, but also for our league.
So if you guys want to stick around for later in the show to watch, because I've got Ron Valentine and Alan Corkum coming on, and also one of the broadcasters from HN Live, who are going to break down all the teams in the Centennial Cup and all the teams specifically in your group as well that you're going to be facing. So if you want some cheat notes on what we've come up with so far, you're welcome to keep on watching. But what's planned here, guys? Do you have are there family members coming out as well to watch you guys in Calgary?
I think my dad's coming down for the first 2 games, I think, and then you'll be back. You'll be back for the final round if we go there.
Yeah, I got some family coming out to watch.
Once in a lifetime thing, right? It's it's an incredible opportunity. You guys are going to have a blast, and I think you guys are going to do really well, obviously. And you know what? Just congratulations, guys. You've done the OJ proud. And we're really looking forward to seeing you guys hopefully bring home the second straight Centennial Cup for the league. So good luck. And thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, congratulations to the Golden Hawks. It's going to be a ton of fun watching them in Calgary this week as they vie for the national championship, starting on Thursday, actually on May 8th. And joining me one last time this season to discuss what went down in the final and preview what the Golden Hawks can look forward to at the Centennial Cup are our good friend Alan Corkum, of course, for your TV and lots of different teams around the league, but doing the yeoman's work he did, of course, in the Buckland Cup final for your TV, covering Milton games. Alan, welcome. And our buddy Ron Valentine, of course, OJHL feature writer. Guys, I guess we've got egg on our face. We all called Milton, didn't we, in the final? I believe. I said 7 games, though.
Yeah.
I was wrong on that. But you guys called the wrong team, but I think you both got 6 games. So, so let's chit-chat about it. I just talked to the Trenton guys, obviously, to get their thoughts. But you guys had a front row seat. Whoever wants to take it first, what did you think? Of course, Trenton takes it in 6 games. Who wants to jump in first here, guys?
Well, I think if we can defend ourselves a little bit, Alex, you look at Trenton's regular season, 97 points. You look at Milton's regular season finish, a somewhat distant third in the West. And I think the reason we all kind of opted for Milton was the current form that they've been showing, the resurgence they'd had in the playoffs. And they weren't quite able to get that done, as you know, in those 5 games.
Yep.
It's a series that had its ups and downs. It's a series that had some controversial things happening in it as well. But, I mean, the games themselves were really, really tightly contested. And but the Golden Hawks are going to be they're going to be good representatives for us at the Centennial Cup. There's no question about that.
Yeah, Alan, you had one of the best seats in the house, of course, covering the games in Milton. What did you take away from it?
That's why it's called a prediction. We predicted Milton, but I did say on the podcast it could go either way, and it did. Trenton, well-deserved, won the championship. They were the best team in the league all season. They earned home ice, even though it didn't matter. They were 3-0 on the road. They were only lost 1 playoff game on the road, so the Road Warriors this playoff. So kudos to Trenton, but we just played real hard. The Golden Hawks came in, and we were probably a little bit guilty of not seeing them as much as Milton because we live in sort of the western part of the Ontario Junior Hockey League. We did see as much as we could of Trenton. We knew they were going to be a strong team. They had a great goaltender. They had some great veterans, and they knew they were hungry to win. This is their 3rd straight trip to the Ontario Junior Hockey League final. The last 2 seasons bowing out to Collingwood, so 3rd time was finally the charm. And congratulations to Trenton, a hard-earned 6-game victory and a hard-earned Buckland Cup title.
And they don't have to hear us say anymore, me especially, that it's their first Buckland Cup win since 2015, 2016, which just continued to blow our minds. They finally get that monkey off their back. I mean, you talk about the Road Warriors. They were winning those games, guys, in Milton. You know, at the Madhouse in Milton with the atmosphere the way it was. That was, I don't know if I would say that's surprising, but I mean, I think we certainly thought that Milton was going to have a better showing at home. What happened? Alan, you were there for the game. What happened? Ron, were you there for the actual Game 6 as well?
I couldn't make Game 6. I was there for the other one.
What was your take, Alan, on what happened in the last, 2 minutes in that game? 2.5 minutes with Milton leading 2-0. They're on their way to Trenton for Game 7. And they just couldn't hold that lead.
This might disappoint Milton fans by saying this, but I don't know what the coaching strategy was in the 3rd, but they were too defensive. I mean, they played the trap. They just laid back. They didn't go for any goals, and that's what happened. You should have went to get a goal or 2, get up 3, get up 4, and then you probably had breathing room to go to Trenton for a Game 7, but they just laid back on that 2-0 lead, and then when Trenton got their opportunities late, they capitalized. They got that goal with about 2 minutes left, and then a minute later, with Sanborn pulled for the empty netter, or for the attacker, they got the goal through a screen. Bickle never saw a thing, and they tied it up. And then in overtime, unfortunately, they got a 2-man advantage to Trenton, 2 penalties called. I thought the first one had to be called. The second one, maybe not, but that's just the way it goes. And then just Trenton kept banging away at Bickle. It finally went in. Originally, they gave credit to Cooper Matthews for the series-winning goal. They've changed it to Teo Artichuk, but yeah, just a tough luck for Milton. They should have just been a little more offensive in the 3rd, maybe went for a 3rd or 4th goal. And we might be not here talking. We might be talking about a Game 7, and then we see who wins. But full goes to Trenton. They kept with it. Sanborn kept them in the game. They took advantage of their opportunities, tied it up, and then won in overtime. And now they're heading to Calgary for the Centennial Cup.
You mentioned Sanborn, and Ron, you had a lot to say about Sanborn in the lead up to the series with Milton. What a pickup he was for the Golden Hawks in the latter part of the regular season, and then in the playoffs. He was your playoff MVP this season, 16-4-1, 1.97 goals against average, .935 save percentage, 2 shutouts. I mean, it was a playoff performance for the ages, Ron.
Yeah, when I talked to him, he said he was kind of, languishing with the teams he was with, and he got the chance to connect with Trenton, and they needed a goalie at that time, desperately needed a goalie at that time. He came in, filled the job, and when you come in and you post 17 straight wins in his first games with Trenton, he's got to be doing something right, and that his confidence obviously built right the way through the season. Very modest guy, but he's been one of the main reasons. Obviously now Brady Spry is a good goalie too. Is in his last year with Trenton, he would have done well, I'm sure too. But Sanborn has just been off the charts.
Just a quick comment here, guys. Milton's big guns that had just been wrecking shop during the playoffs. They still finished with the top three scorers, McDougall, Johnston, and McCauley. But 14 goals in 6 games for the team as a whole in this series. Before that, they'd put up 58 goals in 16 games. That just says a lot about what Trenton was able to do defensively to shut Milton down, wasn't it?
Yeah. And you know, they're defensive, like they can move defensemen in and out of that Trenton lineup, and they also had a call up in there playing too. And I think we kind of overlooked how strong that Trenton defense was. We knew the Milton defense was strong. We knew it was a really veteran-laden blue line core that Milton had, but Trenton did, and they came through on defense as well. And the thing that I was really impressed by was the transition game that Trenton played in the games I saw in Milton. Just so quick to get from defense to offense, and that's going to be a key as they go forward, of course.
So first of all, let's just say kudos to Milton on a great season.
Exactly.
You know, like just a fantastic season. The crowds they got, the excitement that they brought to the town of Milton, and I think only good things are going to continue up there at the Madhouse in Milton with the organization they've got going there. Just great job. But congratulations, of course, to the Buckland Cup champions. Trenton off to the Centennial Cup now, coming up in Calgary, May 8th to the 18th. Hopefully they're still playing on the 18th. So what we're going to do right now, first, let's take a look at the groups that are going to be there in Calgary. So Group A, first of all, has got Trenton, Northern Manitoba Blizzard from the MJHL, the Grand Prairie Storm, who were the runner-ups in the AJHL. Of course, they qualified, but they lost to the Calgary Canucks in 4 straight games. But as the runner-ups in as the host league, they will be at the tournament as well. The Greater Sudbury Cubs, who were an absolute powerhouse in the NOJHL this season, and the Cam River Fighting Walleye, one of the best names in all of junior hockey. I absolutely love it. And then in Group B, it is what we call the Group of Death, because it's as good as Group A, as Group B might even be a little bit stronger. The Melfort Mustangs, who of course made the Centennial Cup final against Collingwood last season. The Rockland Nationals, who for quite a bit this season were ranked as the #1 team in the CJHL. They won the CCHL this season. Les Braves de Valleyfield, the Valleyfield Braves. My French is, pretty rusty these days. But the Quebec champions, the Edmundston Blizzard from the Maritimes, who I believe finished up as the #1 ranked team in the Canadian Junior Hockey League, and the host Calgary Canucks. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the teams in this tournament. So full disclosure, I will be working the Centennial Cup for HN Live, which is the network which will be showing all the games. So if you want to watch the games, I'm actually cutting the highlights. I'll be doing it from the comfort of right here. But if you want to watch all the games live, whether it be Trenton's games or all the games in the tournament, hnlive.ca is where you can go on a pay-per-view basis to watch the games. Dave Dawson is a good buddy of mine from HN Live. He calls a ton of games for them. He will be calling the Centennial Cup along with Peter Labardius, of course, from formerly from Sportsnet. I don't know if he still is with Sportsnet or not, but if he still does stuff. But Peter Labardius, great guy, well-known broadcaster across Canada, will also be doing the games. But I had a chance to talk to Dave to get his perspective because he covers the AJHL throughout the season. So he's a great guy to pick his brain and find out what he thinks. So we're going to cut for a second here. This is what Dave had to say when I asked him about the AJHL and first of all, the team that Trenton's going to be facing in Group A in the Grand Prairie Storm, and also about what we can expect in this tournament from the Calgary Canucks. So here's what he had to say.
Second highest scoring team in the AJHL, the Grand Prairie Storm, finished second in the North Division, North and South Division, 6 teams in each division. So for Grand Prairie, they went into the playoffs in their first round matchup against Lloydminster. It was supposed to be this dogfight. Lloyd had won 9 games in a row heading into the playoffs. Everybody thought this is going to be a long series. Grand Prairie, 4 in a row. Take the division champions, 4 in a row. Going to the league final, you think, okay, Grand Prairie, Calgary, this is going to be a battle. 7-game series, it's going to be incredible. No, they end up getting swept 4 in a row. So this really is a reflection of the entire season of the Grand Prairie Storm. They started out like a house on fire. They were among the top 5 in the CJHL rankings to start the year. They started to fall off a little bit. They lost a few guys here or there. For Grand Prairie, a big addition getting back in the lineup was Colin Doherty. They got him with 12 games remaining in the regular season, piled on the points. He missed the entire second round with an injury. He did really well in the first round, came back for the finals, made an impact, but driving the bus in Grand Prairie, they're a physical team. They play that north style of hockey, as we refer to it in Alberta. That Northern Alberta Northern Division is heavy. You know, Will Harris, Alec Hall. Alec Hall missed a lot of the playoffs. He's expected to be back as well. Carter Streak, Tommy Marinkovich, those are all guys that are really, really heavy and highly talented. People are doing prep. They're looking at the Grand Prairie Storm going, oh, well, Calgary beat them pretty handily in the finals. They must not be that good. Nope, that Grand Prairie team had a flu bug right through the finals. So I think I just talked to their coach just this week. I know he's really excited about going in and going, we're a mystery, right? Like, this is bonus hockey for us. There's 9 championship teams. It's bonus hockey for us. So for the Calgary Canucks coming into this year, they had some business to finish, right? I don't feel that they played their best hockey in the semifinal against Melfort. And, you know, I've been asked this question a number of times already over the last week. Like, how does this Calgary Canucks team compare to last year? And the difference being, well, there's 2 big differences. Number one, Julian Molinaro is a fantastic goaltender. The goalie tandem they had last year was tremendous. I think Lucas Renault and Cruz Chaser are still very good, but I don't know. I shouldn't say it. I've seen good components of the Calgary goaltending, but I think that edge might have been a little bit higher last year. But the biggest difference for the Calgary Canucks is depth. They're 4 lines strong. Their 4th line they led the team in scoring throughout the first round and a half. They have Bowden Singleton, their captain, back this year. He missed all of the finals and all of the Centennial Cup last year, now 20 years old. Hey, Bowden Singleton, in the 2019 Alberta Prospects Cups, this is pre-Western Major Junior Draft, he had more points than Jagger Furcus, Matt Savoy, and Aiden Fink combined. Reese Jameson, bronze medalist of the TELUS Cup last year with the Calgary Buffaloes. You have Hayden Fetchner, picked up on the stretch run. He was part of Okotoks in the playoffs last year that put up a good fight against Brooks. Came back from the BCHL. Now he's a member of the Calgary Canucks. Jack Plandowski led the AJHL in scoring this year. A Halifax native, 19 years old, 0 penalty minutes the whole year, right? So you put all those horses together. This Calgary Canucks team, they're tailor-made for a really, really heavy championship Centennial Cup. And I would feel personally, the Group B, without any teams played yet, the Group B seems to be a really difficult one. So that's going to be where I'm watching, and it should be a fun tournament. So for the Trenton Golden Hawks, whose games I watched, they're very similar to Calgary. That's what I noticed, is that they have the ability to score quick. They're a quick transition team. They have good goaltending. So for the matchup against the Grand Prairie Storm, I think what really can make a difference is rolling their 4 lines, right? And you get Calgary, you get Grand Prairie into a little bit of penalty trouble. That's where they were vulnerable in the finals. And from what I've seen out of Trenton, a really high-end team in Group A. You know, not that you can really make anything out of Group A, Group B before anybody plays, but when I had a look at that Group A, I go, well, the Trenton Golden Hawks, they're going to be a team to contend with. So match it up against the Grand Prairie Storm. I think you have to be aware of how much speed they have in the neutral zone. And if you can poke at them a little bit and just weather their physicality, right, and be able to push the pace back on the other end, I think that'll be a good way to match up well against the Grand Prairie Storm. And for Nick Jones as well, great goaltender. I haven't seen a lot of his games, but what Calgary seemed to do in the finals is really shoot for rebounds. And that seemed to be something that they really took advantage of, especially in the opening couple games of the tournament.
Yeah, our thanks to Dave. Great job. He's a fountain of knowledge, believe me, when it comes to hockey. He calls a great hockey game. And a lot of good information there, guys. So let's start with Group A, Trenton's group here, who they're going to face. He said a lot, obviously, about the Grand Prairie Storm there, but anything you guys want to add in regards to what you know about Grand Prairie and what Trenton can expect?
Well, I think his insights were very interesting there because, you know, from a distance, you look at that final series and you see Calgary just 4-0, 4 straight. You think, boy, Grand Prairie was doing well, and all of a sudden they just came up against a wall. You know, Grand Prairie is not going to be that good. But when you listen to him and say about all the problems they had with the flu bug and that kind of stuff, you can really see that Grand Prairie is going to be just as dangerous of a contender, I think, as Calgary is on the other side for sure. It's interesting that the Northern Manitoba is the second Blizzard team in the tournament. Of course, the Edmonton Blizzard on the other side, and there is a possibility we could have a double Blizzard in the final. Now,
exactly.
The odds for that are pretty tight. I understand that. As far as the Sudbury Cubs go, I was very impressed with them last year in Oakville.
Well, hold on. Let's not skip ahead here. We're gonna go team by team.
Team by team. Okay.
We're going team by team. You're not getting off that easy, Ron. Where you get to skip through teams that easy. We're diving deep here, buddy. So
all right.
Alan. First of all, anything you wanted to say about Grand Prairie, Alan, or is it was that pretty well wrapped up by Dave and Ron?
Yeah, the gentleman said it pretty well. But yeah, those teams in the West are always built very big and strong. They're going to be physical. They're going to be fast. They're going to be huge. They're going to be hitting hard. So Trenton will have to be ready for a tough game. They're going to be physical when they play him. And Grand Prairie, they'll probably be one of the favorites in this group. Trenton will have to be on their toes and bring their best if they want to beat the Storm.
They are good. I watched a lot of clips from the playoffs in the AJHL, and it's a heavy game. Like you said, Alan, it's physical, it's tough, and there's a lot of skill there. So, I mean, the level just goes up a whole nother notch. So, Ron, now let's do, Northern Manitoba, which, of course, is Trenton's first game. And they actually kick off the tournament, the two teams. And I've got the time here. It's Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern is going to be that game. But let's talk about Northern Manitoba for a second, guys. They beat Dauphin in 7 games to win the Manitoba Junior Hockey League title. In the regular season, they finished second in the West Division, 71 points. They were only the 6th highest point total gainer in the MJHL this season, though. So they knocked off Winkler in the semifinals, who were ranked number 6 in all of Canada. Really solid team. The MJHL always puts out a really solid product, and this should be a good team. So whoever wants to take it first here, guys, go ahead. Tell us about the Blizzard.
Well, as you said, Alex, they were the last team to be declared as qualifiers for the Cup. And a lot of people may not know, but this is the first year actually to be called the Northern Manitoba Blizzard. There were the OCN Blizzard before. Can
you say the name, Ron?
OCN Blizzard.
No. I'm not asking for the abbreviation. Can you pronounce what the O stands for? It's an indigenous name. I cannot pronounce it myself.
Cree Nation. It's Cree Nation, isn't it?
It's Cree Nation, but it's a crazy. I can't pronounce it. I wish I could. Take a look at it, folks. OCN, of course, it's smartly shortened to.
Right.
So I thought it might get a chuckle out of you there. I thought you might give it a shot, actually. But yes, but go on. You're right. It's the first year they changed their name to Northern Manitoba. Yeah.
And you know that final game went to 3 overtimes before they got the winning goal. And that was obviously tight. I mean, by far the tightest, I think, of any of the leagues that have been trying to get teams to the Centennial Cup. And when you go that far, I mean, it really gets to be a toss-up, doesn't it? So Dauphin could probably just as easily be that.
Yeah. Alan, what do you know about the Northern Manitoba version of the Blizzard?
I'm not sure if this is their second. This is definitely their second trip to the Nationals, because I remember this team, the OCN Blizzard, way back in 2003.
They were a powerhouse in the early 2000s.
That's right. They were at Halifax when the Halifax Olin Exports won it, because I was there to watch that game as well. So they represented. They actually had the Manitoba against Saskatchewan back then. That was only 5 teams at then it was called the Royal Bank Cup. Yeah. So I believe Northern Manitoba are the only non-ranked or non-honorable mention team in the CJHL to make the Centennial Cup. Milton would have been another one if it upset Trenton, but kudos to them. They got hot at the right time like Milton did. Unfortunately, Milton couldn't finish the job, but the Northern Manitoba Blizzard did. So they're going to be probably a team to watch here. They're going to be under the radar. They probably have no pressure. People probably think they're coming into this with house money, nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Nobody expects much from them, but hey, those are the teams you got to watch out for because they get hot. Watch out. They might be a surprise in this tournament.
Last season, Winkler had a really good team in Oakville. They made the semis against Melfort, and it was a real tight game, and they ultimately got knocked out. I thought they were just as good as Melfort last year. There was very little to choose between those two teams. So they should be very competitive. Cam River, the Fighting Walleye. Love the colors, love the logo, love the name. Honorable mention, as you mentioned, down in the CJHL top 20. They knocked off Dryden in 6 games for their second Centennial Cup appearance in 3 years. They were in Portage two years ago. It didn't do so great there. They had a little bit of a rough ride, but I think they learned a lot from that, the organization in general. And they actually finished second in the regular season in the SIJHL before just killing it in the playoffs and going 12-2. Those 2 games that they lost to Dryden in the final were the only 2 games that they actually lost in the playoffs. The SIJHL has not had a lot of success at the Centennial Cup. It's fair to say that they're usually, I guess it's fair to say that, like, most of the time, they struggle. They're one of the teams that struggle the most. That comes in from the SIJHL. Last season's team from Sioux Lookout, I thought were a good team. They went 0-4. Cam River went 0-4 the year before. Sioux Lookout went 0-4 last year, but they had some really good players. They played entertaining games. They were a tough out. So I'm interested in watching Cam River this season. What do you know about them, guys?
Well, that league is probably, they've got the least to draw on, I think, in terms of players. Now, having said that, they do have a lot of players imported from the States and other areas. But SIJHL has always been, let's say, the long shots or the dark horses when it comes to Centennial Cup time. And I think people were kind of looking at Dryden this year to see, and they got the bye in the first round. But Cam Rivers certainly, in the very short history of that team, they've done very well. And I know they'll put up a good performance. I would still rate them to be one of the outsiders in this, though. And Trenton should be able to get the better of them when they meet.
Yeah, Alan, what do you have to say about the walleye, the Fighting Walleye? Excuse me.
The name says they're going to fight her, but I think, like Ron said, unfortunately, I think they're going to be one of the teams going to the quarterfinal and the playoff. But they did very well for their town. Very proud, very small town up in Northern Ontario. I mean, they've been there 2 of the past 3 seasons. They're going to put an effort in. They may not do the best, but you know what? You still got to be careful of these teams. Like you said, another team that's an underdog that has nothing to lose. The pressure is going to go. Enjoy the experience, enjoy the ride, play the best hockey they can. And teams, if they're not on their toes Saturday night, you never know. An upset could happen. That's why short tournaments are so fun to watch.
Yeah, they're way up in Northern Ontario there. And it's funny because I think back to when the Thunder Bay Flyers, I don't know if you guys remember the Thunder Bay Flyers or not. They used to play in the United States Hockey League. They were the only Canadian team playing in the United States Hockey League. And in the 80s and up to the mid 90s, they were an absolute powerhouse. They won Anderson Cups. They won Clark Cups. They won the Centennial Cup as well, I believe, on 2 occasions by using almost exclusively Thunder Bay players. So they drew all the talent from Northern Ontario, like far Northern Ontario, played for the Thunder Bay Flyers. So there has traditionally been a lot of talent out there. The Flyers, though, just drew it all in. They had like an all-star team of players from the north up there. So I mean, there's a lot of talent up there in that area, and I'm excited to see how Cam Rivers going to do. Let's move on to a league I know very well this year because I also cover the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League. So I know this team very well, the Greater Sudbury Cubs, who were absolutely dominant in the NOJHL this season. One of probably the best teams to come out of there in years is what I've been hearing from more seasoned broadcasters when it comes to the NOJHL who've been covering, the league for quite some time. they, for some time this season, were ranked as the number 1 team in the CGHL. They had, I believe it was a 22-game winning streak at some point in the season. Yeah. So, and they knocked off the Hearst Lumberjacks in an absolutely epic 7-game series. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch any of it on Flow. It was just unreal. 1-1 the series went, and then Sudbury won games 3 and 4 back in Hearst on their home ice, 6-1 and 5-1. So they go back to Sudbury, and everyone's thinking it's done, right? In game 5, trophies there. Oh yeah, Sudbury was leading 6-4 heading into the third period. Sudbury was leading 6-4 with 12 minutes left in the third period. Hearst won game 5, 10-6. It was just like the collapse of all collapses. and I asked the Sudbury Cubs broadcaster, Thomas Mercier, I said, do you think the Cubs were maybe looking ahead a little bit? And he said, I think maybe. You know, you're excited, you're pumped. I mean, you're up by 2 goals with 12 minutes left. You've got all the momentum, considering they just outscored them, 11-2 over the previous 2 games. It just shows you can never, ever take your foot off the gas. So they go back to Hearst for game 6. Hearst wins that game by a goal. Back to Sudbury, insane game 7. Over 1,000 fans at the Countryside Arena. And Sudbury comes out on top. And I will say, before I throw to you guys, to a man, every NOJHL broadcaster that I've interviewed said to me before the final series that they think, whether it be Sudbury or Hearst, that this, if any season, this is the season where they think an NOJHL team could do some damage at the Centennial, because they feel these were 2 of the deeper teams in some time. They haven't had the most success at the Centennial Cup. But this is a repeat for Sudbury, 2-time champions now in a row. Last season, I believe they had 1 win over Longueuil.
Yeah.
College Français. Yeah. So they'll be looking to improve on that this year. But anyway, so that's my spiel on Sudbury as a team that I've covered closely all season. Guys, what do you have to add to that?
Well, I saw the highlights from that 10-6 game you were talking about, Alex, and there were no real fluky goals or anything. It's just that Hearst really turned it around in that final period. Yeah. But Sudbury has, and I'm sure you've been watching him, Lucas Signoretti. The guy's only 5'6". He broke all kinds of records with Espanola, and then he comes to over 100 points. Then he comes to Sudbury, gets over 100 points again. He's got a brother who is also a defenseman on the team, and they're really going to be keying in on this guy. I'm really interested to watch him play, because the size of the guy, and he gets the job done, and it doesn't seem to bother him, in any kind of physical situation or anything like that. Sudbury did play well last year at the Centennial Cup, but they went to a one division format this year too, and just took the top 8 teams. But they're deserving to be back there, whether or not they have. What was it? Over 65 goals in those 7 games between Hearst and Sudbury. You've got to be a little bit stronger defensively as a team, I think, to be able to get the success that they're looking for. I wish Sudbury all the best. I spent 15 years in Northern Ontario, and I'm sure that the Cubs will come out fighting. But I just question that overall defensive commitment that they've got.
They've got to start. They've got to lock it up a bit better. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Alan?
They're going to have to be a lot more defensive against teams like Trenton, who can score in bunches, team like Grand Prairie as well. So I think Sudbury definitely has a good opportunity to maybe finish at least 3rd in the division, maybe squeak into the quarterfinals. But as Ron said, they're going to have to clamp down a little bit more defensively. The offense is there, we know that, but can they be a little better defensively? If they are, I think they have a good shot of advancing to the quarters. If not, it might be tough to advance into the top 6.
So just a couple things to add to that. Lucas Signoretti, like you mentioned, Ron. So last season he was the MVP with Espanola. But Sudbury added him this year, the defending champions, which was just like, the rich getting richer. He finished with 101 points this season, so he was the leading scorer in the league, MVP once again this season, so 2 in a row. And in the playoffs, he had 36 points in 15 games. He was the playoff MVP as well. And and a massive addition as well is the guy who finished second in NOJHL scoring this season was Sam Asinaway. He's the Robin to Signoretti's Batman.
Right.
And he's been out since the Iroquois Falls series, which was the opening round series, with an injury. He returned for Game 7. How they will fare on the national stage, not sure. There is a lot of OHL experience on this team, though. Quite a few guys who've had a cup of coffee in the OHL, and they're big and they're physical. So we'll see. But I would say that this year is a better version than the Sudbury team last year. So we'll see what happens. Okay, let's just quickly go through the other division here, guys, because hopefully Trenton gets to that point where they're going to face these guys. But Dave had a lot to say about Calgary, obviously, who come in. I mean, it's one of the favorites, obviously, with the season that they had. Very, very strong. They've been loading up for this, ever since it was announced last year that they would be hosting the tournament. So anything that you want to add to what Dave said, guys, when it comes to the Canucks?
They're going to come out strong. I actually talked to Bowden Singleton last year. He was the captain. He couldn't play in the Centennial Cup because he had a broken wrist. He had his wrist in a cast. He was devastated that he couldn't get on the ice and help his teammates. He's going to be a key player for them, for sure, for Calgary. And I expect them to be very strong. I still think they're going to be slightly better than Grand Prairie. I think they might advance further. And they've got one advantage, and that's they're playing the games at the Max Bell Center. So they've got home ice, and that can really make a difference. You get the home ice crowd behind you versus some of the other games. There's not too many people around to boost the team on.
Yeah, for sure. Edmundston, how well do you know Edmundston, Alan? You're an East Coast guy.
I mean, they did a pretty strong job. It was almost like the same situation as Trenton Milton. There was a team that came out of nowhere in the playoffs, which was Pictou County. They were the fourth place team in the Nova Scotia division of the Maritime League. They upset the top two teams to get to the finals, but then they ran out of gas. Edmundston were number one ranked in the CJHL and swept in their 4 straight. Edmundston gets a lot of players. Sometimes it gets some players from northern Quebec because they're almost at the Quebec border, so they're northern New Brunswick. So I think there's a few Q-League alumni in that team, so they're going to be a strong team as well. But I'm not sure how they're going to compete against the Calgarys and the Melfords, but that's why you play the game. So we'll see what happens with Edmundston.
Yeah,
we saw a lot of Q guys on Miramichi last year that were on the team. A lot of guys who had QMJHL experience. Ron, anything that you know about Edmundston you'd like to share?
Well, I talked to Noah Poirier. He does the commentary for the Truro Bearcats. And I said, I was surprised Summerside Western Capitals went out so quickly. But he said they made a lot of changes halfway through the season and things didn't really gel for them. But when I asked him about Edmundston, he said basically they're a team that doesn't give a lot up. They've got a very, very strong goalie combination, and the defense is strong. Up front, they can spread the scoring around. He really likes the chances of Edmundston going into the Centennial Cup this year for sure.
Yeah, can't wait to see them. Let's cover Melfort. SJHL always strong, always strong. And can you believe, guys, that before we get to this real quick, talking about tradition in the SJHL, Notre Dame will no longer, after the season, be a junior A hockey organization, which is, so many years and years of tradition. Former Centennial Cup winners. Anyway, I'm going off here, but that's a little bit sad. But the SJHL is always strong, tough. They got that farm boy mentality. They play the game tough, but with skill. And as mentioned last year, Melfort, so their returning team last year, they were the finalists. They lost to Collingwood in that 1-goal game. Very strong team, number 5 in the CJHL final rankings. And they beat the Weyburn Red Wings in 5 games to claim the SJHL championship, guys. So who wants to talk about Melfort first?
Well, you got to look back at that game for the Centennial Cup last year against Collingwood, and it really could have gone either way. I mean, there were so many chances for both teams, and Collingwood was the one lucky enough to get that final shot. But one thing that impresses me from a distance about Melfort this year is they've played 14 playoff games. They've allowed 19 goals. They've scored 51. They've allowed 19. Christian Coombs, their goalie, obviously he's going to be ranked up right there with the goalies, and an overall physical team. I noticed that last year. I'm sure it's going to come out the same way too. But with a 51-19 difference in goals for versus against, they're going to be very tough to compete with for sure.
Yep. Alan?
I know Melford's going to have that bitter taste in their mouth. They were so close last year, so one shot away from winning the Centennial Cup. Now they're back for another crack at it. You know they're going to be hungry. They're going to be just gearing up for this. Some of the players were there last year. They're back for another run. They want to come home with the big dance this year. And you know, probably one game to mark down in that group will be when they play the Calgary Canucks. You say about big, strong, physical teams. The Westerners always have that. I imagine that's going to be a lot of hits and a lot of chattering going on in that game. But yeah, Melford, I think, has a good shot at getting into the Final Four for sure. After last year doing so well, and as Ron said, cruising, it seems like, through these Saskatchewan playoffs, 51-19 outscoring their opponents.
Right. From the CCHO, we've got the Rockland Nationals. Last season, the Navin Grads, not the greatest tournament for the CCHL, so they're looking to bounce back this year. And Rockland was strong all season long. I think for an extended period this season, they were the number one ranked team in the CJHL rankings. They finished the season third in the rankings, and they beat Carleton Place, the Canadians, a former powerhouse from the CCHL, who won a few titles in a row, I believe, beat them in 4 straight games. Ron, what's your take on the Nationals?
You look at the goalkeeping average and you look at the points per game of Rockland, you won't find anybody in there. They just do everything as a team, very, very quietly as a team. No big scorers, no big goalie with the big goals against average. And they've as you said, they're third ranked team. And look at this whole group. I mean, you've got Rockland 3, Melfort 5, and Edmundston number 1. It's so difficult on these national rankings because, of course, you never get to see a chance for the teams to play each other. But I'm sure that Rockland will come out as a complete unit, and they're going to be one of the favorite teams, I think, going in.
Yeah, Alan.
It's going to be a dogfight. That's why it's called a group of death. As Ron just said, 3 of the top 5 teams in the country in the same group. It's going to be some entertaining games. Rockland, first time there in a long time. They beat a team, as you said, at Carleton Place that have been familiar with winning the Central Canadian Hockey League. Mm-hmm. So I think Rockland will get some good experience. It may be tough for them to make the quarterfinals. They'll be definitely in the running with Calgary, Melfort, Edmundston. But look at those 4 of those teams. Those 4 teams ranked in the top 15 all year. And one of them are not even going to make the quarterfinals. That's why it's called the group of death. There should be some entertaining hockey in the preliminary round of Centennial Cup. And I'd advise the fans in Calgary, if you haven't bought your tickets yet for it, get them now or go on to hnlive.ca and pay for some games. There's going to be some great action in Calgary coming up in about a week.
Yes. And then finally, we've got the Valleyfield Braves from Quebec, who were a powerhouse this season. They took down CF Longueuil. How do we say it, guys? I should have listened to the pronunciation. I should have listened to Sean Mullen.
Longueuil, isn't it?
Longueuil. I should have listened to Sean Mullen on the HN Live broadcast doing last year's games before I actually said it. It's for some reason it doesn't. It's like me saying the word Aurora. It's one of those ones that doesn't roll off my tongue properly. So we'll call them the College Français Longueuil. They took them down in 4 straight. Valleyfield did. 12th in the CGHL this season. Last year, CF Longueuil did not have a great tournament for sure. Couple of big losses. So Quebec will be looking to bounce back this season. You mentioned the Maritimes before with Q players. Well, obviously, the Quebec Junior A League gets a lot of former Q guys as well. So there will be experience there. But guys, what's your take on the Braves?
Well, they were ranked 12th this year in the CJHL final rankings. They had a long playoff run. They were the first ones actually to qualify for the cup. But their playoff run was very grueling. Now, there's another team that scores a lot of goals, but also lets in a lot of goals too. I think that's
they traditionally do.
That's
Quebec.
the way the league works. You know, they're very
yeah.
offensive minded. They've got some great individual scorers, and you know, Valleyfield is obviously the best of the best. But it would be a surprise to me if they were to make the finals. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, Alan.
Well, from being a remote east to watch some of the Q League back before I moved to Ontario, I've seen the Quebec League, the Ontario League, and the Western League and Major Junior. So it all trickles down to Junior A. And the thing is with Quebec, it is finesse. It's a lot of speed, a lot of skill, not as much physicality. So I'll be curious to see how Valleyfield can stand up to the teams like Melfort and Calgary in some of those games. If they can withstand some of the physicality and maybe pull off an upset, there's a real chance for Valleyfield to cause some damage. But as Ron said, they're going to be a lot better defensively. They can score a lot, but they give up a lot. And especially with some of those Western teams, they could be battered around. So if they can withstand the physicality, I think Valleyfield has a shot of advancing. If not, it might be a short tournament for Valleyfield, but you never know what can happen. That's why you play the games on the ice and not on paper.
A lot of the times, most of the times in this tournament, the flash and dash doesn't work as well as the teams that can really grind it out. We've seen that over the years, which is why teams from the West have won so many times. They can just shut you down, and they're skilled as well. So we'll see how that translates in this tournament for Valleyfield. But this is it. So, guys, the Golden Hawks games, they've got 4 of them in the preliminary round. They are against Northern Manitoba, opening the tournament Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, against Cam River. That is on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I hope I'm getting this right with the translation of time, but it's Mountain Time, so I believe we're adding 2 hours to that. Yeah, 2 hours, right. Trenton against Greater Sudbury from the NOGHL. That's Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then Grand Prairie to close things out, the AJHL runners-up. That could be a huge game. So Tuesday at 6 p.m. Next week. And just a reminder, of course, all the games, you can watch them. Go to hnlive.ca. They honestly do a great job of the broadcasts. Really, really good camera positions, really good announcers. It's a great production. So it is pay-per-view, but they will be covering the games, and they do a good job. I will be cutting the highlights. So you can, if you go to the HN Live YouTube page, all the highlights will be up there as well from every single game throughout the tournament.
Excellent.
That's it, guys. That is it for the season. That is absolutely it. Thank you for what was an epic run. And I mean, our first year doing the podcast, and by the end of it, I had you guys on every 2 weeks as we got into the playoffs. So I was bugging you every 2 weeks going, guys, come on this
Hopefully
week.
people aren't sick of us.
That's why it's fun.
They're probably sick of me, but they have to look at me every week throughout the season. But in all seriousness, guys, thank you very much for giving your time all season long. Really appreciate it, gentlemen.
And I'd like to wish the Trenton Hawks, Golden Hawks, all the best in the finals. I know they're gonna put the league, the OJHL, in a very good light. They've got a bunch of talented players on that team, and if they can get a couple of guys back, Jamie Darlis and Matthew Soulier, if they're able to come back to even give more strength and more depth, I'm looking for them at this point to hoist that trophy at the end of the 18th of May.
Well, after what happened last year, they're definitely one of the favorites. So no question about it. But gentlemen, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Joe Washkarak as well, who's been by us almost every step of the way throughout the playoffs. 1 week, Mike Galati filled in, which we really appreciate. Joe was away this week, though, so couldn't do it. But Joe, we appreciate you as well. Thank you to all the guests from throughout the season who popped in and helped out on the broadcast. Thanks to everyone at the league, for helping to get this going. It's the first year we've done a podcast. So, to Marty Savoy and to Rick Morocco and Chris Vanstone, thank you so much for, helping to set everything up. Jim Mason as well, really great with helping to set up guests and everything like that. And everybody, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it this season. I've enjoyed bringing it to you every week. I didn't realize how much I could really enjoy podcasting, but I've really, really enjoyed it and interviewing everybody. And it's been a blast all season long. Just a reminder, of course, to stay up to date with everything through the Centennial Cup and off season. Head to the league's official social media outlets. And with that being said, congratulations to the Golden Hawks for winning the Buckland Cup, and good luck at the Centennial in Calgary. We'll be watching.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
Thank you, folks. Trenton.
Yep. We'll see you next year. Thanks, folks.
Thanks.
Thank you.